I love taking some time off, but I also really like getting back to work. I do. And couldn't be a better day to come back than Election Day, even though I think it's going to be a strange Election Day where far left Democratic Socialists, and you can fill in the term communists, are going to win around the country. It's just bizarre to me. But that's where we are. Closer to home, State Representative Bill Schuette from Midland is with me. Bill, how are you?
Hey, glad to be back on the show and glad you had some good time off as well. Well earned.
Well, you got to get out of the office sometimes. I mean, we sit here in the studio, and sometimes I feel like I never leave the studio. But, a lot going on. One of the things, you got a press release here about red tape and garbage and regulation. Look, that's been a problem forever. That's one of the reasons that Donald Trump said if you're going to add new regulations at the federal level, you have to get rid of a certain number that are already there, because we're just buried in regulation every single day. Look at California. They haven't even started to rebuild after the massive fires because nobody can get a permit to do anything, is an easy example. Permitting processes and all these things. When you talk about reducing red tape, what are some of the things that you're looking at?
Well, you're exactly right, Steve. And that's what we need to do in Michigan is follow the example of states like Texas, North Carolina that are growing because they're getting government out of the way and making it easier for their citizens to get to work. And here in the state of Michigan, frankly, our government is too slow and there's too many areas where red tape and permitting and government rules gets in the way of hardworking Michiganders from getting to work. So that's why I'm working with our House Republican colleagues on a package of more than 50 different bills that does everything from eliminate unnecessary licenses, look for ways that we can get our permitting system moving more efficiently and delivering for Michiganders.
Yeah, we need to do that. When you talk about specifics, I mean, and I agree with you, we need to look at tape. Well, there's a whole list of things, Bill, that I could say we should be following suit with states that have seen it work. Let's say I'll take Tennessee as an easy example. Get rid of personal income tax. But instead, Michigan increased our income tax here recently, and nobody's doing that. Nobody's increasing income tax. Look what's going to happen in New York. There's going to be an exodus out of that city after today.
Oh, yeah.
Increasing taxes on individuals and businesses will drive people right out of New York. And look, I see car plants going to Indiana. I see other development in Ohio, other development in Tennessee. We are not business friendly in Michigan the way those states are we?
No, and it's no wonder that states like Indiana and Ohio are eating our lunch. And, Steve, you and I, we're both competitive guys, and we don't like to lose in anything. We especially don't want to lose to Ohio, right?
Ever.
And we're losing to Ohio because it takes you 3 times as long to get a permit in the state of Michigan, and you're paying lower in taxes. So why? And your energy costs are lower. So
and the roads are still better. Don't forget, the roads are still better in all those states. Yeah,
it's remarkable.
All right, give me a couple of examples, though, Bill. I know you look at these. For example, I mean, there's a housing crunch all over this country. Is there a way to expedite permitting on building houses, a way to expedite getting permits for other projects? It just seems to me there's got to be a way to make things happen faster, more efficiently, and less waste, because the more time it takes, the more money it takes. Taxpayer money oftentimes getting wasted in the process, too, right?
You're exactly right, and you hit the nail on the head with housing, because more than $90,000 to every single family or multifamily build in the state of Michigan has regulatory costs built into that, additional cost. So if we can do things like make sure that the department, we have a one-stop shop for permitting. So you need to get a permit. Where do you need to go to get your permit for building a new housing unit in the state of Michigan? You've got to go to 6 different state agencies, right? So how about instead of 6, you go to 1, right? That's a good place to start. And then you look at the timelines that it takes to get those permits. Let's have a process. Say, if you don't have this by 90 days, if you don't have a response back from the government by 90 days, you have a shall issue permit model. I think that's a good way to bring some accountability back to the process.
I'm going to voice a personal complaint here. I am. We had a house fire at a rental house a year ago now, just over. And there's been some permitting, and that's not actually been the issue. The issue is dealing with DTE. They've made the process painful, and this apparently is normal. They're slow. They don't react. They don't call back. You can't rebuild a house if you don't have electricity. Just pretty much common sense, right? And it's been a real problem. And just another example of things that stand in the way. This house should have been done 2 or 3 months ago. The biggest roadblock to us has been, in fact, the state came in and approved, passed the inspection, boom, DTE comes over, yeah, we don't like it. We need you to move your temporary electrical service. Took another couple of months to get that figured out because even though the state of Michigan said yes, DTE said, yeah, we don't like it. Don't like it. The state says it's perfectly fine. Nope, don't like it. You got to move it. It's just like, wow. One roadblock after another. That's my personal complaint. I think that there should be things done about that as well.
No, you hit the nail on the head with, not only do we have a government that's permits take too long, its processes take too long, but then they ask private companies to ask all these series of questions. Then they put these requirements on private companies. They make it harder for them to, issue their services to Michiganders across our state. It's a toxic culture that needs to shift and needs to change. And I tell you what, too, Steve, we have some nonsensical licenses right now in the state of Michigan. You need a license to be a potato dealer, a plant grower, to be a butter grader. I don't think you should need a license to say this is grade A or grade B butter.
Wait. A butter grader?
Butter grader. Yeah, right. Butter grading requires a license. Yeah.
And I don't remember which way this went. A couple years ago, it came to my attention. It's either putting down tile or putting down carpet. One has to be licensed, one doesn't. Here's the big problem, Bill. The year I was born, 1960-something, about 5% of the people in the state of Michigan had to have a license or a permit to work in the state. It's now almost half. You cut hair, you got to have a license. Look, the free market will weed people out. If you can't cut hair well, you're going to go out of business.
And on hair cutting, Steve, you need more training hours to be a licensed hairstylist and barber in the state of Michigan than you need to be a commercial airline pilot. Does that make any sense?
No, it makes no sense whatsoever. It's insane. You have to have, I think it's like 1,600 hours to become a hairstylist. I heard some wild number. I could be off on that, and somebody can correct me, but you're right. It's a ridiculous amount of time and effort and money to cut hair. Look, I will tell you, if I get a bad haircut, I'm not going back. The free market will fix it. The free market will put good people at the top, and people that are not qualified will not survive. That's why the free market's supposed to be what we use in this country and in this state. I'll give you the last word, Bill. It's very important that we cut this stuff down.
No, you're exactly right, Steve, and that's what House Republicans are focused on. We're focused on making sure your government works for you and making sure that you're getting value for your tax dollars, making sure that there isn't unnecessary burdens imposed by the state of Michigan that are arbitrary and getting in the way of you just living your life and building a better future for your family.
And the question then becomes, can you get Democrats to see the light and say, you're right, we should get rid of some of these regulations, because I think that's going to be a hill to climb that you're never going to get up. Not until you get the majority back in the Senate and maybe a governor in Michigan that's a Republican. Bill Schuette, always appreciate talking to you, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it.
All right, we'll talk soon. When we come back, Ivy will be here with all her loveliness, her big radiant smile, her big personality. She's going to be here. Bells on. I know, I saw her putting them on earlier. Bells. We'll be right back.